welcome to my channel. Subscribe, listen, and enjoy my stories every day. In the crisp morning light, I maneuvered my car into the parking lot adjacent to the sleek glass building that housed my wife Jenna's marketing firm. Today wasn't just any day, it was the day I had planned a small, playful surprise to add a spark to our routine. Little did I know, the spark I intended would ignite a wildfire that would scorch everything we had built. Jenna had always had a taste for the finer things: elegant jewelry, designer clothes, gourmet food. So, when I found a delicate bracelet adorned with sapphires and diamonds, I knew it would catch her eye. I imagined her face lighting up with the surprise, and perhaps I'd get a playful, loving call later in the day thanking me. But I wanted to add a twist, a note accompanying the gift, teasingly signed, "From your secret lover." I placed the small, elegantly wrapped box on her desk, the note positioned prominently on top, and retreated to a small storage closet across the hall where I could watch the scene unfold. I cracked the door slightly, my heart pounding not just from the thrill of the surprise, but from a deep-seated excitement to see her happy. Minutes stretched like hours until the sound of heels clicking against the polished office floor signaled her arrival. Jenna entered, a stack of files under one arm, her phone pressed against her ear. She laughed at something the caller said, a sound that used to warm my heart, now just a part of the morning's backdrop. Her eyes caught the glint of the gift box, and her conversation paused. "Hold on, Mark," she murmured into the phone, her tone shifting to one of hushed anticipation. As she read the note, a secretive smile played on her lips, not the reaction I had expected. She typed something quickly on her phone, then tucked it away, still smiling. "Mark, you shouldn't have," she whispered, assuming her boss was the caller and the secret admirer. My heart sank, then tightened in confusion and a rising sense of betrayal. Mark, her boss, whom I'd met at several company functions, always the epitome of charm and professionalism, now emerged from his office with a timing too perfect to be coincidental. His eyes found Jenna and the small box, and his well-rehearsed surprise didn't fool me for a second. "Do you like it?" he asked, crossing the room in a few strides, his voice low and intimate, a stark contrast to the formal man I had shaken hands with before. Jenna nodded, her face alight with joy, not meant for me. "It's beautiful, thank you," she breathed, standing to tiptoe and peck him on the cheek. The scene before me crumbled any facade of trust and loyalty I held. This wasn't just a simple case of misinterpretation. It was confirmation of the worst kind. My surprise had unintentionally revealed the depth of Jenna's betrayal with her boss, a man who knew she was married, to me. As they laughed softly, sharing a moment meant for lovers, my initial shock morphed into a cold, seething anger. I no longer saw my wife in Jenna, I saw a stranger who had deceived me, tarnished the sanctity of our marriage. I slipped out of the closet, unnoticed, the image of their intimacy seared into my memory. The drive home was a blur, my mind racing with the magnitude of the betrayal and the fallout that was sure to follow. Revenge, a concept I had never entertained in our years together, now pulsed through my veins with a clear, precise demand for action. I would not let this deceit go unchallenged. I would reclaim my dignity, and they would never forget the cost of their betrayal. The drive back home felt like a lifetime, the image of Jenna's smile as she kissed Mark replaying in my mind on an endless loop. My hands gripped the steering wheel tighter with each passing thought. Betrayal had a way of sinking in slowly, like poison. It started with disbelief, then morphed into anger, and now, revenge was the only antidote to the festering wound inside me. I parked the car in front of our house, the home Jenna and I had built together. From the outside, everything looked the same, but it no longer felt like my home. It was a facade, just like my marriage. Inside, I walked through the rooms, silent and methodical, mentally cataloging every part of our life that would soon unravel. My breathing was steady, calm even, but beneath it, a storm raged. I had never thought of myself as a vengeful person, but now, the idea of making her and Mark pay consumed me. There was no coming back from this. Not for her, not for us. I sat at the kitchen table, staring at my phone. Jenna had texted me just moments ago, her usual sweet, oblivious message. "Hey babe. Long day at work. Can't wait to see you tonight. Love you. Love." The word felt empty now. How long had she been using it with me, knowing she had someone else? I clenched my jaw, resisting the urge to respond immediately. Tonight would be the last time she would have the pleasure of using that word without consequence. I had a plan, but I needed more information. I couldn't confront her just yet, not without knowing how deep this affair ran. How many lies had she told? How many times had she met Mark behind my back? A single slip-up would ruin everything. No, this required patience. I wanted her to feel the weight of her choices crashing down, and for that, I needed to outmaneuver them both. I decided to dig deeper. Grabbing my laptop, I accessed Jenna's email. She had never been careful with her passwords, a small oversight she'd soon regret. After a few failed attempts, I guessed correctly, our wedding date. The irony wasn't lost on me as her inbox loaded, a collection of mundane work emails mixed with personal messages. But I was looking for something specific, something hidden beneath the surface. And there it was, a separate folder labeled Projects. I clicked on it, and my stomach churned as I saw a stream of emails between Jenna and Mark. The subject lines were coded, quarterly review, client presentation, but the content inside was anything but professional. Mark. Can't stop thinking about you. Last night was perfect. When can we meet again? Jenna. Tonight, after work. I'll tell Carl I'm running late again. I miss you too. I leaned back, the bile rising in my throat. The reality of their betrayal was far worse than I'd imagined. They had used me, my time, my trust, to fuel their sordid affair. The rage simmered, but I kept it controlled. If they thought they were smart, I would be smarter. Later that evening, I played my part. When Jenna walked through the door, she greeted me with a kiss, the taste of her deceit bitter on my lips. I forced a smile, the perfect mask of ignorance. "Hey," she said, placing her purse on the counter. "I'm sorry I'm late. There's just so much going on at work." I nodded, pretending to believe her, though every word felt like a dagger. "It's okay. I know you've been busy. How about we have a quiet night in? I ordered your favorite, Thai food." Her eyes lit up in appreciation, but behind them, I could see the faint glimmer of guilt. "That sounds perfect," she said, walking over to pour herself a glass of wine. "You're too good to me." I swallowed the bitterness, playing along with the charade. "Anything for you," I replied, forcing the words out. Every second was torture, but I needed her to stay unaware, to continue believing that I hadn't caught on. Dinner was a delicate balance of small talk and forced smiles. Jenna carried on as though nothing was amiss, recounting her day with the same fabricated stories about meetings and deadlines. I listened, every word another stone in the wall I was building between us. But as the night wore on, I noticed something. Her phone, which she normally kept close, was lying face down on the kitchen counter. An opportunity one couldn't pass up. "Babe, can you grab me a glass of water?" I asked casually, leaning back in my chair. She smiled, oblivious to the trap. "Sure." She stood up and walked to the sink, her back turned to me. I reached across the table and flipped her phone over, tapping the screen. Her messages were open. There it was. A fresh message from Mark. "Can't wait to see you tomorrow. I'll be thinking about last night." I clenched my fists, resisting the urge to smash the phone right there. Instead, I quickly slid it back into place as Jenna returned, handing me the glass of water. "Thanks," I muttered, barely able to look at her. She sat down, her carefree smile returning. "So, what's on your mind? You've been quiet tonight." I stared at her, my wife, the woman who had vowed to be faithful to me, who was now sitting across from me, unaware that her betrayal was already out in the open. For a moment, I considered confronting her right there, throwing the phone at her and demanding answers. But that would be too easy. I didn't just want her to suffer, I wanted her to experience the slow, crushing weight of knowing that her life was falling apart, piece by piece, and there was nothing she could do to stop it. "I'm just thinking about work," I lied smoothly, forcing a tired smile. "But don't worry about me. Let's just enjoy the night." She nodded, seemingly satisfied, but I could see the flicker of suspicion in her eyes. I would have to be careful. One wrong move, and she would know that I was on to her. The game had begun, and I intended to win. As Jenna went to bed that night, curling up beside me like everything was normal, I stayed awake, my mind churning with the plans for what was to come. Tomorrow, I would take the next step in dismantling the life she had so carelessly destroyed. It would be slow, calculated, and devastating. Just like she deserved. The next morning, I wake up early, lying still as Jenna sleeps beside me. Her breathing is slow, steady, completely unaware of the storm brewing beside her. I stare at the ceiling, the pieces of my plan falling into place. Today will be the start of her downfall. Everything she thought she had under control, everything she thought I didn't know, will unravel. But not yet. I still need to be careful. Quietly, I slip out of bed, careful not to wake her. I've never been more aware of my movements. The last thing I need is for her to get suspicious too early. In the kitchen, I brew coffee, the mundane act almost laughable considering what's about to happen. Jenna stirs, rubbing her eyes as she shuffles into the kitchen in her robe. "Morning," she says softly, coming up behind me to wrap her arms around my waist. Her touch, once something I craved, now feels like a brand. "Morning," I reply, handing her a cup of coffee with a smile. The tension in my body is carefully concealed beneath practiced calm. She leans against the counter, taking a sip. "What's your day looking like?" she asks, oblivious to the way I study her face, looking for cracks in her mask. But she's good, too good. The same way she's lied to me about everything. "Just another day at the office," I say. "Got a few meetings, but nothing too bad." I pause, pretending to hesitate. "What about you? Any big plans?" Jenna shrugs, her expression innocent. "Just work, same as always. I might be late tonight again, though. Another one of those client dinners. You know how it is." Her eyes flit away as she takes another sip, and I know she's already planning her next meeting with Mark. "Of course," I say, forcing a smile. I know how it is. Inside, my blood boils. How easily she lies. How smoothly she brushes off my questions, as if nothing is wrong, as if she's still my loyal wife. But today will be different. Today, I'm not just Carl, her husband, the man she thinks she can deceive. Today, I'm the man who's about to take back everything she's stolen from me, piece by piece. Once Jenna leaves for work, I grab my phone and make a call. The voice on the other end picks up after a few rings. "Hello? It's Jack, my friend from college, who now works as a private investigator. We haven't spoken in a while, but I know I can count on him for what I'm about to ask." "Jack, it's Carl. I need a favor." His tone shifts instantly. "Carl? What's going on? You sound serious." "I am," I reply, my voice low and steady. "I need you to tail someone for me. My wife, she's having an affair." There's a pause, then Jack's voice hardens. "I'm sorry, man. That's rough. You want me to follow her?" "Yeah," I say. Her and her boss. I already know it's happening, but I need proof. Something solid I can use. Consider it done, Jack says, without hesitation. Send me the details, and I'll start right away. After we hang up, I feel a small measure of relief. The wheels are in motion, and soon, I'll have everything I need. Proof of her betrayal, evidence I can use not just in our divorce, but to crush her relationship with Mark too. I can't let them get away with this. But that's not enough. I need to hit them harder. And I know exactly where to start. By lunchtime, I'm sitting in my office, staring at my laptop, the cursor blinking in the search bar. My fingers hover over the keyboard for a moment before I type in Mark's full name, followed by the words, company scandals. It doesn't take long to find what I'm looking for. An article, buried a few pages deep, about a financial investigation from a few years back. Mark had been implicated in a potential embezzlement scheme, though nothing had ever come of it, swept under the rug, no doubt, by his lawyers. But the article gives me an idea. If I can link his affair with Jenna to something more serious, something that could bring him down professionally, it'll hit them both where it hurts. I dig deeper, spending the next few hours combing through company records, old articles, anything that could give me leverage. Eventually, I find a few inconsistencies, small things, but enough to raise suspicion. If I play this right, it could ruin his career. But I need more time, more information. Jack's tailing them now, and I know he'll find something incriminating. My phone buzzes on the desk. A message from Jenna. Running late again tonight. Don't wait up for me. I stare at the message for a long time before replying. No problem. I'll be working late too. My plan is still in its early stages, but I can't wait much longer. The more time passes, the more comfortable they'll get, and the more they'll think they've gotten away with it. But they won't. That evening, after Jenna leaves for her so-called client dinner, I drive to her office. It's empty now, the lights dimmed, the cleaning crew just starting their rounds. I make my way inside, unnoticed, and head straight for Mark's office. My heart pounds in my chest, but my mind is sharp, focused. I'm not here to confront him. Not yet. This is reconnaissance. I need to know exactly how deep their relationship goes, how often they meet, what they talk about. I pull out my phone and discreetly place a small recording device beneath the edge of Mark's desk, hidden just out of view. As I leave the office, my thoughts race. Tomorrow, when they meet, I'll have everything I need, their conversations, their plans, all of it. And then, I'll strike. When I get home, the house is dark, quiet. Jenna's not back yet, of course. She'll probably come in later, slipping into bed beside me as if nothing's wrong, as if I don't know the truth. But I'm not angry anymore. The fury that once consumed me has turned cold, calculated. I'm not rushing into this. I'm building a case, piece by piece, until it's undeniable. Until they both crumble under the weight of their lies. I sit in the living room, waiting for Jenna to come home, thinking about what's to come. Tomorrow, I'll start phase 2. Tomorrow, I'll begin to dismantle their lives, just like they dismantled mine. And when it's all over, when I've taken back my pride and made them pay for every lie, I'll walk away, leaving the ashes of their relationship behind me. The trap is set. Now, I just have to wait. The following morning dawns like any other, but today is different. Today, it all comes crashing down for Jenna and Mark. As I get ready for work, the weight of what's to come settles in my chest like a cold, hard stone. My actions over the past few days have been precise, calculated. Today, I'll execute the final move. Jenna is in the bathroom, applying her makeup, humming softly to herself, oblivious to the storm about to tear through her perfect little world. I watch her through the mirror, a mask of indifference on my face, while inside, the dark satisfaction grows. she doesn't deserve to know yet. Not until the moment when everything crumbles. As she walks into the kitchen, I casually say, "Hey, I might be home late tonight. Got some big meetings lined up." She glances back, smiling. "No problem. I'm working late, too. Busy week." The lie slips off her tongue effortlessly. It's almost admirable how good she's become at deception. Almost. I watch her leave, the door closing softly behind her, and for a brief moment, I feel the rage rising again. But I push it back down. It's not time for anger. It's time for revenge. At work, I receive a call from Jack. His voice is serious, businesslike. "Carl, I've got everything. Photos, conversations, it's all here." They've been meeting at a hotel not far from her office, more than a few times a week. It's bad. I expected it to be bad, but hearing it confirmed stings more than I'd anticipated. "Good," I say, my voice tight. "Meet me at the address I'm sending you. Bring everything." After I hang up, I send Jack the address of the hotel. The same hotel where Jenna and Mark have been meeting in secret. Tonight, they'll think it's just another night of sneaking around. But I'll be there, and so will Jack, with all the evidence. The hotel is as unremarkable as I imagined. Mid-level, discreet, the perfect place for an affair. I park the car in the lot, checking my watch. Jack arrives a few minutes later, stepping out of his vehicle with a thick envelope in his hand. He hands it to me wordlessly, knowing this isn't the time for pleasantries. "Everything's in there," he says, nodding toward the envelope. "Photos, texts, emails. It's airtight. If you take this to a lawyer, she'll get nothing in the divorce." I stare at the envelope, my fingers brushing over the edges of it. This is the moment I've been waiting for. But something darker pulls at me. The thought of taking her to court, of calmly settling this with legalities, feels inadequate. It's too clean, too measured. I don't just want to take her money. I want her to suffer. "I've got something else in mind," I say, my voice low. Jack looks at me, his brow furrowing in concern. "Carl, what are you thinking?" he asks, his tone cautious. I don't answer him. I'm already in motion, walking toward the hotel entrance, the envelope tucked under my arm. Jack stays behind, watching, but he doesn't follow. He knows this is something I have to do alone. I know their routine by now. Jenna always gets to the hotel first, checks in, and waits for Mark to arrive a few minutes later. As I enter the lobby, I spot her car parked outside. Perfect timing. The woman behind the front desk doesn't even look up as I pass by. I already know the room number from Jack's surveillance. Room 305. Third floor, end of the hall. I take the stairs, my heart pounding in my ears, my fists clenched so tightly that my knuckles turn white. Each step feels heavier than the last, but I don't slow down. This is the moment I've been waiting for. The final act. I reach the door to their room and pause, my hand hovering over the doorknob. I can hear voices inside, Jenna's soft laughter, Mark's low murmur. It's sickening. But I'm ready. Without hesitation, I unlock the door with the keycard I'd obtained from a shady source Jack had pointed me to. It swings open, and I step inside. The look on their faces is priceless. Jenna, half-dressed, scrambling to cover herself, and Mark, wide-eyed and frozen in shock. "Carl!" Jenna gasps, pulling the sheet up to her chest. Her eyes dart between me and Mark, panic flooding her features. What are you doing here?" I say nothing at first, letting the silence stretch, watching the realization sink in. Mark starts to speak, but I cut him off with a sharp, cold voice. "Shut up," I say, glaring at him. "Don't even try to explain." Jenna's eyes are wide, her face pale. Carl, I can explain. I. Explain what? I snap, my voice dripping with venom. That you've been screwing your boss behind my back for months. That you've been lying to me every single day. I throw the envelope onto the bed, and it bursts open, the photos of them together spilling out like damning confessions. Jenna stares at the photos, her face contorting in horror. Carl, please, I'm sorry, she pleads, her voice shaking. It's not what you think. It was a mistake, A mistake. I laugh bitterly. This wasn't a mistake, Jenna. It was a choice. Over and over again. You chose him. You chose to destroy our marriage. Mark finally speaks up, his voice trembling. Look, Carl, we didn't mean for this to happen. I cut him off again, stepping toward him, my fists clenched at my sides. You didn't mean for this to happen. You think I care about your excuses. You've both ruined everything. There's a moment of tense silence. Jenna tries to reach for me, but I step back, my expression cold, unyielding. Don't touch me. Her eyes well up with tears, but I feel nothing. Carl, please. I still love you. I laugh again, a harsh, bitter sound. Love? You don't know the meaning of the word. And as for Mark here, I turn my attention to him, my voice lowering to a deadly calm. I'm going to make sure you lose everything, starting with your job. Mark's face drains of color. What are you talking about? I've got everything I need, I say, my voice icy. Evidence of your little affair, and more. You think your company's going to keep you on after this? Think your wife's going to stick around when she sees the truth? Mark opens his mouth, but no words come out. I take a step toward him, my fists still clenched, and for a moment, I consider hitting him. But I don't. I'm not giving him that satisfaction. Instead, I turn to Jenna one last time. I hope it was worth it, I say, my voice low. Because you've lost everything. With that, I walk out, leaving them behind, the destruction of their lives hanging in the air like the smoke of a long-awaited fire. By the time I get home, the weight on my chest has lifted. Jenna will come home to an empty house. I've already packed my things, already contacted a lawyer. She'll never see me again. And I'll make sure that neither of them can rebuild the life they've destroyed. The chapter of our marriage ends here, and with it, any shred of pity or regret I might have had. This is my final revenge. And I'll never look back.